Hey, New Jersey homeschool families. Unfortunately, this video is for you. The radicals in Trenton are after your homeschool rights again this year. Two bills just dropped, S741 and its companion bill, Assembly Bill 1341. They're being sold as support for homeschooling. Of course, they're anything but that, and I'm going to break them down for you right now. I'm Emily Fort with the Homeschool Freedom Coalition, and this update is not going to come as a shock. If you were around in New Jersey for the mess last session, these are basically identical bills to last year. These would force homeschool parents and their children to have to meet every year, every single year you're homeschooling, with a public school district employee, a counselor, a nurse, or a social worker that's chosen by the superintendent. And this isn't, they say it's a support bill, but this isn't because you asked for help. The actual support homeschool mom needs, can I get a latte or a massage once in a while? We're not getting any of that kind of help. There's no problem they're going to address with you. There's no, nothing. They're not offering you anything. This isn't actually support. They're here to check on you simply because you homeschool. And this bill claims that it's a general health and wellness check, but there's no specifics. What does that mean? Are we talking about vaccines, or are we talking about what kind of exam is our child going to go through here? We have no idea. This is not about your child's wellness, obviously. This is about government access to homeschool families who've done nothing wrong. They want to, as always, they're protecting the kids, but we all know there are tens of thousands of kids a day being bullied, beaten, assaulted, raped, and more in government schools. I mean, libs of TikTok exists. You don't have to be that smart to have figured out that they're not protecting the kids they have for 8 and 10 hours a day in their own building, in their own possession, so to speak. How on earth are they pretending they're going to be able to protect our kids at home with us? It's ridiculous. They know that this is nothing to do with protection. They know that many, many, many families, literally millions all over the country, are choosing to leave these schools at record rates. So they're doing everything they can to cast a net of suspicion over homeschoolers and reestablish their authority over our families. So they're basically telling us we have to let the government do a wellness check because, some families might be abusing their kids. And let's just ignore all the kids actually being abused in government schools in New Jersey on a daily basis that they're unable to stop, unable to address. The bullying and assault are basically rampant. Everybody connected to anyone that's gone to government school knows a kid that was beaten up and bullied, and almost nothing happened to the aggressor. And if anything, the parents that reported it and tried to get justice are, they're then labeled as being troublesome. The ship sailed on believing they care about protecting kids. But that's all, that all assumed. There's one more thing here. This moves the goalposts once again so that parents are having to prove to government bureaucrats that they're worthy of making decisions for their own children. And as a homeschool graduate myself, as a homeschool mom myself, I just totally reject the assumption that our kids belong to the state. Our parents don't owe the government any access to our kids, period. They aren't the state's property to protect or survey or data mine or manage. They're our children, and we're their parents, and we're the ones who love them, and we're the ones taking care of them, and we're the ones paying the bills. So get lost. That's essentially, that's at its core, homeschooling says, I know what's best for my child. And even if I don't have all the confidence to choose all the best curriculum and do all the instruction myself, I'm still their parent. I still love them more than anyone. And so I'll find the resources I do think can help them. I'll put them in the co-op I find to be, the best for them. Or I'll find the curriculum options that I think, shore up any weaknesses I may feel I have, from having been in their school system. So the point is, this whole bill, the biggest thing it does is move the goalposts back to the government owns our kids, and we have to prove to the government that we're doing a good enough job to get to decide what to do with them. Now, if you don't live in New Jersey, this might surprise you, but New Jersey has some strong homeschool freedom. And so these bills, these are necessary bills. I call them in a lot of videos, I call them chassis bills. A chassis is just the shell of the car that you then later add all the things to it. Well, these chassis bills, they're written to just open the door to invite future oversight, future regulation. They're going to take this law, if it passes, and expand it and say, well, if we've established the government owns kids and has a right to protect, homeschool kids in their homes with medical checks, well, then we've also established that part of protecting those kids is doing standardized testing. And part of protecting those kids is making sure the curriculum their parents are buying is up to par. And part of protecting those kids is making sure that none of their curriculum, has explicitly Christian content. There's no limit to where this sort of legislation can go. And so it has to be stopped right here. But you don't have to necessarily agree with me on everything I said. I couldn't necessarily, not every parent is conservative. Not every parent cares to use Christian curriculum. That's not really the point. The point that should make everyone stop and think, even if you like to think, oh, the government is just trying to protect a few kids and, they do just want to help. Notice that they're not bringing these requirements on private school kids. These bills don't touch private school students. So their whole, we got to protect children. And if they're not in our building, we can't protect them. And so this is our way of protecting them. They're not doing this to private schools. This is only to homeschoolers. This is the literal opposite of support. This is targeting the one group of parents who've rejected their fake assertion that the government owns our kids. That's essentially what it is. So right now, we've got to get loud and we've got to get aggressive, very aggressive in our political tactics with these people. Below this video, there will be a link to sign a petition opposing these two bills in the House and the Assembly. Click the link, sign the petition. We'll also send you an email with the ability to directly email your legislators. And you can customize your pre-written email, but it goes right to them. And we're not waiting until these bills move out of committee to unleash that on the legislature. Keep in mind that when a legislator is working, sitting on a committee, in that role, they represent the whole state. Okay, so they're not just that guy from that district, and so his voters should reach out to him. When you're sitting on the education committee, you are basically filtering all education bills. And so in the role of a committee member, that person is representing the whole state, not just their constituents in their own district. And it's the pros and cons of being on committee, right? Everybody wants to be on committee. Well, then you have to hear from the whole state when bad legislation comes up. It's just tough luck for them. If they don't like it, they can get out of politics. But the point is, we're going to immediately unleash emails on all those committee members and on the entire legislature, because these bills aren't going to get stopped if we, hold our email fire until it's passed all the way to the full House or Senate floor. We're not going to do that. This is too critical of an issue. So right now, sign your petition, send your email. It's going to start with right now. The emails will go to the committee members. Once it gets past any committee phase, it's going to go to the whole legislature. We're going to get loud because keep in mind, homeschoolers are up against the teachers' unions and the NEA and their big lobby arms and their fancy guys in slick suits waltzing through the Capitol saying, let's just move this one through real quick. They don't want to give homeschoolers time to be loud and to get aggressively involved in speaking with their legislators and saying, hey, this is a bad bill for us. The lobby arm of big education, they don't necessarily, they don't want the legislators to realize how many voting and aware homeschoolers there are. So they're trying to move quickly. That's why we have to move even faster. So we're early on this one. The bill has just been filed, but this is how we have to start fighting more tactically, more aggressively. When we show up quickly, loud, and united, we're harder to ignore. And, eventually we can get some of this legislation just shut down and they can stop just believing what the teachers' unions and the NEA are telling them. No, homeschoolers don't want this bill. This isn't helpful. This isn't support. And so the more we can do early, the more chance we have of impacting these bills. So thank you for your time. If you've already filled out your petition, you've already sent your emails, please take a minute to share this video in any New Jersey homeschooling groups you're in, locally, county level. If you use a specific curriculum or you're with a specific organization, share this video, get the word out. The louder and faster we are, the more likely we are to be able to stop this nasty legislation. So stay free, stay the course.